Hey, everybody, welcome back to the podcast where I bring you the best and the brightest in the world of business, marketing, and technology to help you harness your own inner tenacity and drive your life and career forward. I am thrilled to welcome my guest today, Cathy Hackl. Cathy is a highly respected global business executive, tech futurist, and media personality. She's a leading authority in emerging tech and leads Journey's virtual studio, helping companies, brands, cities, and governments with gaming, AR, AI, spatial computing, Metaverse, and Web3, and so much more. There's so many buzzwords there. We're going to get to that in a little bit. And brands you may know, like Nike, Walmart, Louis Vuitton, Clinique, have trusted her to guide them into new virtual spaces on their emerging tech journeys. Properly known in tech circles as the Godmother of the Metaverse, and we're going to find out where that came from. Cathy's been a fixture in the world of immersive tech for almost a decade. So let's get to it. The Godmother of Metaverse herself, Cathy Hackl. Welcome to the show.
I'm excited to be here.
Cathy, first and foremost, again, thank you so much for joining me. You are all over the place all the time. So to have you finally grounded in one spot, and you literally said, hey, Uber's picking me up in a little bit, so let's get the show on the road here. Welcome.
Well, I'm thrilled to be here. I know I rescheduled with you a few times. This is my schedule, as you know, is always in flux. I'm always somewhere. It's I don't know. It's been really exciting couple of weeks. So
it has been, and we were just talking before about you two at the Sphere in Vegas. So I'm going to go off script here, and I'm going to ask you, what was the most impressive thing about the entire U2 experience in the Sphere in Las Vegas?
I don't think I can choose one thing, to be honest. I mean, I was there for opening night, which was first of all amazing because everyone was there, from like Jeff Bezos to like Sir Paul McCartney to Snoop Dogg. Like everyone was there. It was an amazing night to be there for opening night. So I think part of it was being there for opening night, like something so new. First, first view. A lot of people, first time they saw the inside was through some of my videos. I think for me was the convergence of technology and music and art that just, I mean, a leap forward. It was beautiful. Like, it was interesting because, I mean, I love U2. Like, I really like them. I'm a fan. I'm not like the diehard fan, but I'm a fan.
You know all their songs. You know what they're playing most of it.
You know their songs and stuff. But I always joke, and I joked to my friend that I took with me, and I said, I'm here for the tech, right? I'm here for the music too, but I'm here for the tech. That's why I wanted to be as close to the screen as possible. And literally there was a moment where they were using, it's like, it's a spherical venue that has this
you're in a planetarium almost, right? Like it's giant massive, on steroids,
super high resolution screen, giant screen. And there was a point where they were singing, and the actual part of the sphere that gets that has the screens actually started getting full with code and images, and all of a sudden it's like a square was coming down, and I literally was almost crying. Like, I'm not impressed with tech very easily. This was amazing. I was literally almost crying. So what was the most amazing thing? The overall experience of merging technology, art, music in a completely new way. There's nowhere else you can experience this at this point. It's only in the Sphere in Vegas. I know they're going to be doing a bunch of other things in other places and stuff, but it was amazing. And for me also, I'll have to say the other thing was seeing some of the work that I Crave, which is a Journey company. My company's Journey, and it has several companies. Seeing the work that our team had done with the interiors, not the Sphere part, but the interiors with lighting and things like that. So yeah, it was like, I would say it's like a double thing here. Well, like proud to see my team's work, and then just in awe of the experience.
But how cool is this going to be? We talk about Web3, we talk about NFTs, and we talk about not the PFP side of NFTs, but the art, the generative art side of, and so much of the art for this performance, and so many of the visual arts in the music world. This is on display. This is it. How much do you think this will help propel that back into the positive PR spotlight?
Well, we'll have to see, right? I mean, Rafik Anadol has already had some of his art shown in the Sphere, so I think that's a good first step. I think they're talking to a lot of generative AI creatives out there. I mean, I wouldn't be surprised seeing a Krista Kim do something, or a Beeple do something with the Sphere. I think that those are, Mad Dog Jones, or like some of those potentially do something as things progress. I think the focus in the conversation right now is around the entertainment side, right? So I haven't really heard that much about the Sphere and Web3, but I do think that there's some of these artists that could be definitely logical first steps, just like Rafik was.
Which artist, dead or alive, would you love to see now in the Sphere?
Inside performing?
Yeah, dead or alive.
Taylor Swift and Beyonce.
It's gonna happen. I heard a
Oh, yeah.
rumor. I'm gonna get back to script in a second, but I heard a rumor the Eagles were next, and I'm like, that's not great. I don't love that. Then they said Harry Styles. I'm like, 1,000,000%. That's a logical one.
Mhm.
I mean, the options are endless here, but I'm excited to see it. I'm going to report back because this episode is going to air after I go to the Sphere.
Okay.
So I will add my 2 cents on after. So let's get to it. Cathy, as I mentioned before, this show is about the life journey told through the lens of the career. And I've watched a lot of your interviews, and I don't hear it talked about a lot, but I really want to talk about where it all started on the production and the reporting side of things. Did you always want to like be that as a kid? Young Cathy growing up, did you have the little microphone in your hand interviewing folks, other kids?
Young Cathy always wanted to be on TV. Like, she wanted to be a reporter. She wanted to tell stories. Like, when I found out that you could make money telling stories, I was like, okay, that's amazing. That's me. So by nature, I'm a storyteller, right? Wherever it is that I work, I bring that with me. And yeah, I mean, I went to journalism school, University of Texas, got a bachelor's in broadcast. I thought I was going to work in broadcast journalism all my life. That wasn't the case, but I learned a lot. I mean, I learned how to speak to audiences. I learned how to talk, when I'm doing a video interview,
Right.
how to do live TV, which is one of the scariest things ever. So yeah, I mean, and ultimately it was interesting because, you could choose print or you could choose radio or you could choose broadcast. I knew broadcast, I knew video was my medium in that sense. So yeah, I mean, I'm always a storyteller at heart. So wherever I go, I bring that with me.
Where did the confidence come from? Looking back on it now.
My parents, I would say, one of the reasons I feel like as a woman in tech now, I've been so quote unquote successful is because I was raised by two parents that never put any limits on me for being a girl. Right. I have a mom, I have a brother. It's my brother and myself. And they never said, oh, you can't do this because you're a girl. They literally would be like, go try it. Whatever it was. I would come to them with some of the craziest requests. And they're like, okay, go try. As long as it wasn't anything dangerous, right?
Right.
But they're like, go do it. Why not? Go try. And I'll give you an example. This is a silly one. It's
Bring it.
a little fluffy, but I think it's interesting. Like, I am 5 feet tall and pretty curvy, but I came to them and I said, I want to go to modeling school. And instead of laughing at me, they literally like, sure, go. So for a whole summer, I went to a modeling academy. All the girls were obviously super tall, like,
Right.
stick thin. But I learned so much about poise, about walking, about, doing a lot of different things that, like, I'm so glad that they never said, you're never going to be a supermodel. They were like, go ahead, go, right? So they never put any limits. Anything I came up with, oh, I want to study German, I want to do Portuguese, I want to learn this, like,
I
they
love it.
never put limits. So the confidence, I think, came from parents that raised me in a way where I felt truly myself or able to explore whatever was on my mind.
I love that. And how much of that are you instilling with your kids and bringing that to life?
Everything. Like, whatever it is that they want to try, I'm all for it. Like, my kids are doing so many different sports and different
Tell me
things
about it.
across. Yeah, I mean, and my son, for example, he's a Roblox developer. So, like,
Oh,
yeah,
wow.
sure. You want to explore how to build in Roblox? Let's go do that. Like, my little one is doing golf right now. That's what she's exploring, and she's really, really enjoying it. I mean, I don't come from a golfing family, so it's all new to us. My oldest one is a gymnast. Like,
It's a lot.
nothing of what I was a dancer growing up. So none of that. Like, well, maybe the gymnastics one is a little bit closer, but it's been really interesting. Just to have them pursue their passions, and I always let them explore whatever it is that they want to try. I'm open.
Now, going back to your son who's a Roblox developer, like, are you the cool mom because you could actually talk shop with him and get him like the inside intel? Like, oh, you want to speak to these people? I think I can make a call here and there. What's that like?
I have been the cool mom for a few years, but now he's almost 11. He's like 11, going
You're
into the
almost not
teen
cool.
years, so I'm starting to not be cool. But yeah, when I used to get Roblox would send me boxes of stuff, and like that was like the coolest moment. Or I will tell you something, and this is interesting since we're talking about like life.
Please.
Because I work in technology, my kids, they're 13, 11, and 6. They don't have free reign over the internet. They don't have social media. I'm one of those tech people that limits my kids' use of technology in that sense a
Interesting.
lot. So their friends were always like, "But your mom works in tech. Why is she limiting your access?" I'm like, well,
But why though?
exactly
Is it
because she
because
works in tech.
you know the dangers, you know the reality. But on the other hand of it, Cathy, let me ask you this,
Yeah,
and
yeah.
I've heard Gary Vee talk about it a little bit too.
Mhm.
The ability to empower your kids to have every technological advantage for them when they get out into the life force, the workforce. How do you find that balance of completely insulating them, but also giving them the skills and the experience.
Well, they still get the skills. Like my son's still a Roblox developer, right? And my daughters, they can use technology for other things. They're just not on social. Like my kids are
Right.
not on
They
social
can't be
media.
on TikTok.
Yeah, no TikTok, no Snap, no nothing like that. But they use all the other, like
And
they use tons of other platforms. So like they want to do stop motion, they want to code.
they
I'll
can
give you an
still do
example.
it.
Like my 6-year-old loves building her own maps in something called CodeSpark. And I was watching her build maps. She creates the maps and then I play them and she laughs at me. Um, but I was watching her play the other day and she was like playing and she chose AI. So I was like, wait, what are you doing? She's like, I'm playing against an AI. I was like,
Mm.
tell me more. I mean, she's 6, right? I'm like, tell me more about this. She's like, yeah, I'm just playing against the AI. It's like, no one's playing with me right now. So I'm just going to play against the AI. So like these sorts of things, it's not that I'm I don't want them on social just yet because I don't think that it's a good moment. Like I'm not at the big, like, knowing a lot about algorithms, I'm like, I don't think they're ready
I'm
emotionally to
with you
be
on
in there.
that. Hmm.
So, but I do give them all the tools. It's not like, they have computers, they can
Right.
develop, they can, build, like, so
You're not
all of
blacking
that
them
they
out
do
of the
have access
tech.
to. It's just not social. Like I don't
Yeah,
let them have free reign in that sense.
it's so interesting too as a parent. My daughter's 11, my son is
Hmm.
5, and my daughter obviously is on. Obviously, she
Hmm.
wants to be on TikTok, and
Yeah.
she is on TikTok, but she has a private account. I
Hmm.
closely monitor it. I mean,
Yeah.
like daily. Like she doesn't even know. She's not going to listen to this episode. Like I am in it,
Yeah.
right? Because I want to make sure we have to protect them. We know the dangers that are out there.
Hmm.
But again, as you mentioned, Kathy, what that's teaching her is she's a creator. She
Yeah.
is so good at editing videos. I've had her do my TikTok videos. We do skits
I love
together,
that.
and we engage it together. Um, it's an interesting balance. So I want to get back on track here, and I
Yeah.
want to talk about your career because it's not been linear. And we
Hmm.
talk about this trajectory of nonlinear careers. Um, things weren't always super clear cut for you, right? But you talk about things that you like to do. Where did you really come into your purpose, right? Like you enjoyed the
Yeah.
broadcasting, you like being in front of the camera, you like sharing stories. But when did that sense of purpose really formulate in your career?
Yeah, so I always go back. It's a multi-pronged thing here, like because I'm a multifaceted professional. Like, um, so from journalism, one of my first jobs was actually to work at CNN, and I was working at CNN News Source, which is one of their affiliate companies that provide content to affiliates. And one of the jobs there was actually to look at all the raw footage that was coming in from the war in Iraq. So as you can imagine,
Yeah.
I had to sometimes sit through horrible, horrible things, but that was my job. I had to alert the affiliates that at minute blah 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 there was sensitive material. So yeah, I sat through some pretty horrible things. I always jokingly say I was a YouTube moderator before before that existed. Um, but yeah, like having that type of job where you're exposed to that type of content, it does create this PTSD, right? There's this kind of like thing where you have to kind of the only way
Get
I can
numb
explain
to
it
it.
is the only way to explain is like you turn your humanity dial a little bit just to get by so that you don't take that with you home. You still take it, but
Right.
you got to kind of find a way to
You
compartmentalize
bring your
it.
empathy quotient down a
Mhm.
little bit. You kind of monitor your emotions.
Yeah.
Right.
So you turn that dial a little bit. And to me, that aha moment, that moment where I found my purpose was about a little over 10 years ago now, or something around there. At that time, I had already switched to tech. I was working in live streaming. So like when Periscope came out, and
Oh
that's
yeah.
where I got connected to Silicon Valley because I was one of the first people on Meerkat and Periscope, and then got really
Oh,
connected to
Meerkat.
Twitter.
Yeah.
I know, like old school, right? Um, and I was at an event. I was speaking about live video and everything. So I was in live streaming before like it was like the thing people did, right? Um, and I remember getting invited to put a VR headset on, and I went into an experience called Confinement by the Guardian that puts you in a virtual solitary confinement cell.
Oh man.
And within a couple of minutes, like I was claustrophobic. I took the headset off, but there was something in me. The only way I can express is that at that moment in that experience, I felt like that dial that I had moved a little bit got turned back on because empathy, like I felt something like I cared about people in solitary confinement. This is not an experience I ever want to have. It was like really walking in someone else's shoes. So the only way I can express is that I was able to kind of turn that humanity's dial a little bit back to where it was. And that was the moment I literally took the headset off and I said, this is the future storytelling, and this is what I want to do for the rest of my life. How am I going to do that? I don't know, but I'm going to do it. And fast forward, I've been able to do it, and I've been very
It's
successful at it. So
it's so interesting too because I think about VR, AI, the buzzwords, but they've been around for a long time. I go
yeah.
back to, I mean, just to date myself here, I'm 44 years old. I grew up playing Nintendo, the original Nintendo. we had glasses, we had things moving, we had the duck hunt gun, we had
Mm-hmm.
all these things. So the actual experience of engaging a human and a technology engaging isn't new,
Mm-hmm.
and it's something that's been evolving. Why all of a sudden is like are they propelling and putting on a pedestal like it's a new thing out there?
I just think, a lot of us are in the tech space and we live in these bubbles, and like it's,
Mm,
I was just having that conversation the other day. I was like, for a lot of us that have been in the space for a while, spatial computing has been in our vernacular for a while. But for a lot of people, they were introduced to those words this year by Apple. The first time they ever heard spatial computing, what is this? For some of us, we've been around it for a long time, right? Um, so yeah, I think this is how I explain it to people. I say, for the longest time, something like AI was an evolutionary phase, right? It was being developed, it was being created. So only a few people had touched it, or very specific people with very specific access to the
right.
technology could touch it, right? So it was in this evolutionary
It was
phase.
as
And
consumer facing as it is
yeah,
now,
and,
right?
and now it's like revolutionary. Now, like it changes the way, it changes its access, democratize access, like everything that's happening there. So it goes in this moment of from evolutionary to revolutionary. That's what I see with spatial computing. It's in this evolutionary phase, right? It's really early on, and eventually it's going to be revolutionary. It's just not there yet. So yeah, like a lot of these things have been around for a long time. It's just people are just eventually like they'll come up to the mass market. It's going to take a while though.
How would you explain AI to my 74-year-old mom who has no clue what it is and sees it on CNN or Fox News or on
Mhm.
Facebook, and she has no idea what it means, no idea what the applications are?
Yeah,
How would you explain it to her?
it's using a computer to generate new data created from inputs that the computer is using. So the computer might take something that someone wrote, something that someone drew, and might take that and eventually create new things, right? These are outputs that the computer's putting out. I'm not going to go into the intrinsics of like all that because that would make no sense to them.
It's not
But
a
this
full
is
tech
things that
show.
are
They could find
created
it.
by machines, by computers. So in essence, it does change the human-computer interaction, or the way humans and computers interact, and the way computers and computers interact. But yeah, it's pretty much like but especially generative AI. I'm not going to get into computer vision and
No,
everything else because that's just too complicated for grandma to understand at this point.
we're gonna pause on that one. But what scares you? Because you know a lot. Well, actually, I'm gonna pause for a second before I get to that question. Where does Cathy Hackl get her alpha from?
My kids mostly, I'll be honest, they're the best window into my future.
Ooh, okay, keep going with that. How? Give
Best
me an
window
example.
into the future, like
What's the most
exactly.
recent alpha thing that you've heard from one of your kids?
I think the AI thing, like her playing against AI, she was like totally comfortable. I was like, oh, tell me more. So things like that, like I spend time with them. I play with them in the games. I listen to what they're saying.
That's
Um,
it. That's
there's
it.
definitely a lot of alpha there. And
Right? Because they're the
then,
next generation. They are the current
yeah,
generation. What they're
they're Gen
playing is
Alpha.
us as the elders
Hmm.
who are managing the business side of it and the
Hmm.
evolution and safety. We need to see how they're engaging with it because they're the
Yeah.
ones who are using it. We're not really using as much as they are.
Well, I am, but
I mean, I do too more than the average person, but we're talking about
yeah,
the
we're
average
early
mass,
adopters here, Adam.
the mass
You and I
populace.
are. But
Yes.
I would say like they're Gen Alpha. So Gen Alpha, for everyone that's listening and might not have come across the term, they're the children of millennials. They're born between 2010 and still being born. It's a
Oy.
generation pretty much that will not know a world without AI, without streaming, without AR, without spatial computing. Like it's ubiquitous. It's gonna be all ubiquitous for them.
Mhm. It's
And to
crazy.
that point, it might be interesting for you to include this in the show notes. Through Journey, we worked with the Harvard Business Review's analytics service. We commissioned them to
Link.
do, yeah, to do a report on the business case for understanding Gen Alpha, and we interviewed our clients like Walmart and Legoland in that, and it's a free resource, right? So it's free to everyone. It's to kind of really understand, like when we're talking about Gen Alpha, who are we talking about? What do they think? Where are they spending their money? What are their preferences? And start to wrap your head around this new generation. That will be, I think, by 2030, 10% of the workforce. So,
And think about who's managing them are the millennials.
mhm.
Us boomers are we're
I'm an
well, we're
older
not
millennial, so
we're not. Yeah, I'm Gen X. You know the what but what's you know a lot. What scares you about this technology? I mean, is it we going full Terminator too soon? Like, is it
mm,
going to happen?
I think we need guardrails. We need some type of. I think the European Union is a lot more advanced when it comes to thinking about how to maybe regulate this or put some frameworks or guardrails in place, right? I'm based in DC, so I do see some of the movement here, right? The
Hmm.
conversations being had. Um, but yeah, I just want to see action. Like we haven't regulated social. Like we haven't done anything there. So what makes me think we're going to eventually do that with AI? My hope is that there's some type of guardrails put in place. What scares me? I'll tell you something that does scare me. And I am neither an AI optimist or utopian. I'm not an AI utopian or an AI
More of a
dystopian.
realist.
I'm a protopian, which is really in the middle. But one of the things when I think about the longer term and connecting second, third order effects and stuff, one thing that does keep me up at night sometimes is something called virtual air rights. So it's like who owns the air and the space around me, like what I can see, what's within earshot of me. Because once we talk about moving beyond our phones into some type of device that might live on our faces, or it might be on our lapels. It depends on different visions. There's going to be
Who's going to
that's real
access it?
estate. Like that becomes real estate, and that worries me.
Right.
So yeah, it'll have a massive impact on
And
constituents and on people in the world, in the physical world.
I mean, that kind of leads into my a question I had later on, but I wanted to talk about Zuckerberg came out last week, and we're talking about the Ray-Ban glasses there. That's
Mhm.
a very interesting point. Where is it coming from? Where's the information? How are you able to control it? And how close could technology get to you? That scares me. And what could they find out? What could they know?
Well, we
When
already know
people
so
update,
much. Like,
right? But we update our Apple
mhm,
software, and we just scroll through. We don't look at the terms and conditions.
mhm.
People don't know what they're signing off on. That's
Yeah,
what's scary to me.
it is. I think it is pretty scary. And even, I'll be honest, I think that's from a personal level, but from a corporate level, like sometimes I've seen agreements that a stadium or a company signs
Hmm.
with a startup, and they don't even understand they're signing over their virtual air rights in perpetuity. Like that to me is scary. Like I don't think people understand that. Or like sometimes you'll see patents that are awarded and you're like, that's a really far reaching patent. It's obvious that the person that approved that patent and the patent office has absolutely no idea what they're looking at. So those things do scare me. I'm like, wow, these are very overreaching patents or overreaching agreements that people don't really understand. So
Yeah, I think
I worry about that.
I think to a certain extent, Kathy, it's going to be a little bit of trial and error and finding out the
Mhm.
hard way. Effing around and find out. I think
Yeah.
that's kind of the fun part about technology, also the scary part about technology. But I want to get back on course here and talk a little bit more about your career. Um, I want to talk about founding the Futures Intelligence Group. You weren't there too long before you left. Talk to us a little
I
about
didn't leave. I sold it.
okay, before you exited. Sorry.
Yeah.
Talk to us about that decision. Did you feel like you were at the point, was it opportunity, or were you ready to move on to something different?
Well, so I'll explain what happened, right? So I was at AWS and I was able to kind of keep writing at Forbes, it was part of my agreement, which is really strange to be able to do that still at a big tech company. And I wrote an article where Ryan Gill from Crucible brought me the term direct to avatar. And he said, I have this term and I'm looking into it. I said, let's write something together and explain it to the broader business audience. And we wrote an article in Forbes saying, is direct to avatar the next direct to consumer? And it posed that question and went into like why we thought so. And
Hmm.
then that article lit something up in the fashion space. And I would start getting DMs from all these C-suite folks at different brands. And then pretty soon I had a lot of big brands calling and saying, hey, I need you to guide me. Like, what is this thing? What is this metaverse thing? Like, I need to talk to you. So eventually I was like, okay, I love what I do at AWS. I was working in partnerships. But I was like, okay, I'm gonna jump ship during the pandemic, right? And I was like, okay, I can always come back.
Right.
So I launched the Futures Intelligence Group, and then within 10 months got acquired by Journey. So I'd never left. It's more like Futures Intelligence got acquired by
It
Journey,
was
and now it's
absorbed.
part of Journey. So
Got it.
I sold my company in 10 months. It was opportunity. I mean, Metaverse really was booming. My list of clients was like Nike, Walmart, Louis
Right.
Vuitton. I mean, who wouldn't want to acquire that kind of book of business? So yeah, I mean, it was really, really exciting to get acquired so quickly and have that exit. But yeah, I mean, I keep building what I'm building at Journey through what we're doing. So yeah, I mean, just as an entrepreneur and as a woman selling my company in 10 months, I mean, I'm gonna pat
That's
myself on the back for that.
that is a huge win.
Mhm.
Well, that's an interesting one. What's the most challenging element of being a woman in a generally male dominated tech world?
Where do I start?
Let's get into it. This is
Oh
what the
my
show's
gosh.
about.
Um, it's a lot. I mean, many
Mansplaining,
times
lots
in
of mansplaining.
Yeah. But I'm pretty good at, you know what? I
You're
push
pretty
back.
good.
I push back often. I have no issues, you know, uh, interrupting anyone. Like if I know I'm sitting at the table and I know the answer and someone's giving the wrong answer, I will step on.
Like, no. Uh, uh.
I'll be like,
Uh.
like, let me talk. Hear me out. Um,
I don't know. I got sound effects, right?
there you go. But yeah, you know, like I think many times I was the only woman, or I was not thought of because they just overlooked what my knowledge and capabilities were. So it wasn't always hard. I did have to work sometimes 3 times as hard as some of my male counterparts. I will say that over the years it's become less and less. I've been able to kind of leverage. I mean, I'm in a great position right now, right? Um, People
And you're
respect the work I do. I'm one of the leaders in the space. They listen to me. They respect what I'm doing. Um, so it has changed and evolved over the years. I would say from a personal perspective, since you're asking about career, one thing that I did do is I thought I had to fit into a box, to a specific persona to be accepted in tech. And if you look at a lot of my past headshots, they're usually very robotic. There's no smile, wearing a jean jacket because that's what everyone wears in tech. So like the darker and a darker, more almost robotic way. And it wasn't till I sold my company, I was doing more work in the fashion space, that I started to embrace more like it's okay to be in tech and be feminine. Like there's
hmm
nothing wrong with that. So more of my recent pictures are more fun. I'm more embracing who I am. And that to me has been lovely because it's also been inspiring, I think, for a lot of other women in the space.
I was about to say, if
Mhm.
anybody follows Kathy on Instagram, you get pretty damn glammed up a lot, and I think that sets a great example in a good way, and I mean that in a good way. And now that we know about your journey and wanting to be a
Mhm.
model and going to modeling school and going through that too, it kind of all makes sense. But I love that you're adding the
Yeah.
feminine energy and the glamour to it.
Well, especially you have girls, right? You have
So
so like I want women in tech to know that they can be
this is the
themselves. They
real
can
world.
embrace who they are. It doesn't matter. Like they're smart. Like yeah, like for me it's like part of that. It's like embracing fully who you are. You don't have to be wearing a leather jacket all the
No.
time and not smiling to be taken seriously in tech. So,
So what advice would you give my 11-year-old daughter if she was exploring a career in tech?
be rebellious. Be curious. Don't take no
Mhm.
for an answer. The best thing, quote unquote, you can do to someone like me is say no. No, you can't. Be like,
Oh, it's a fire. Fuel on the fire.
just
Gas
hold
on the
my
fire
beer.
there.
Just give me a chance. I'm gonna prove you wrong because I heard that so many times. It's like no,
All right,
and
so
boom.
let's talk
So
about spatial computing because this is
yeah.
a concept that's new to me. So let's give a little bit of pull back the open the kimono into what
Mhm.
it means from a consumer facing standpoint and from the tech side, the good, the bad, and the ugly.
So I'll be honest. Like I don't want to get too much into it right now because I'm working on something that I think is going to have kind of a bit of an impact in the business world.
Okay, well,
So I don't want to give.
okay, give
I
us a
don't want to spill the
30,000 foot
beans
view
yet.
without
Yeah, but I mean, I'll tell you what the definitions have
Well,
been
let
for
me ask you this:
spatial.
when is that coming out? Today's October 3rd. When is that coming out?
You'll see something. You'll see Apple's spatial computing sometime next year, like they've said.
Okay, fine,
But I
got it.
think you're going to see other devices. You're going to see
hmm
other perspectives. There's news obviously that OpenAI is talking to Johnny Ive about doing
hmm
something. You had, for example, the Humane AI pin at the Copernic Fashion Show in Paris Fashion Week.
Pretty
So I
cool.
think you're going to see multiple perspectives on what spatial computing is. What I will tell everyone here is spatial computing does not equal mixed reality. I saw that in the New York Times article the other day. I'm like, that is not it. So I don't want to give you the definition right now because I have something coming out that is going to
Well, what
help
about a
define that.
practical application understanding to put into context?
Yeah, I mean, practical application. I'll give you an example. So Lockheed Martin was partnered with Microsoft HoloLens to help assemble the one of the capsules, one of the I think it was the Artemis. I can't remember right now what the name of the capsule is, but one of the space
Hmm.
capsules. And
The new
basically,
lunar,
yeah,
right?
one of the space capsules. Yeah. So basically, they using spatial computing, they were to cut down on I think it was 8 shifts of like between 9 and 8 hours. That is a normal work it would take them to assemble the capsule. It was down to 6 hours, right? And then there was a 93% approximate reduction in labor costs. So things like that is massive impact, right? And these are things that a human has to do. Yes, they can be aided by computers and everything, but at the end of the day, a human has to make sure that this capsule is perfect, that there's no error, right?
Right.
So yeah, like things like that I think are super powerful.
So you brought up something interesting.
Hmm.
The other kind of buzz statement du jour is AI is going to take over all your jobs. What are your thoughts? Is it really going to take over our jobs, or the people that don't embrace it and don't know how to use it are the ones that are going to lose their jobs?
I do think that, like a lot of people say, it's like AI is not going to take your job. It's going to be someone working with AI or that
Right.
knows how to work with AI. I do agree that we all need to start implementing, it into our workflows and understanding how do I use this? What makes sense? What makes sense for my role, right? Um, so yeah, definitely upskilling yourself and understanding. Even whenever I speak to any company or brand, I'm like, you need to level up your AIQ,
Hmm.
your AI intelligence, intellectual quotient. Not just generative AI, because I think like that's where the attention is, and everyone's like, oh, I need to understand all the tools. Yeah, understand the tools that make sense for you, but I feel like every day one more startup dies when one of the big companies releases something. So yeah, know the tools, but also level up. Try to understand computer vision. Like try to look deep learning. Like look at all different aspects of AI, because AI is really broad. So not just not
Narrowing.
just generative AI. Generative AI isn't everything. It is really much the headline grabber right now, but it's not the only thing.
So I want to kind of push us in the final push here of the show, because I know you have a time constraint,
Yeah.
Cathy, back on the road here. What is going to be that killer app that's really going to take us to the next level of the metaverse? What's it going to be? Right? How are we going to get there? I mean, I think it's going to be something related to gaming. I think that is where the younger generation is going. But specifically, what's going to get over the hurdle of people saying, "Nah, this no, who wants to do things in the metaverse? Who wants to listen to music when I could go to a show? Who wants to shop when I could go to a store? What's it going to be to get us over that hurdle?"
I think it is generational. I think for the older contingent, it's like, why would anyone want to do that? Like,
Mm,
right? But they're already you know your kids. They're already living in these virtual spaces, and it
they're
doesn't mean
already
they're
in it.
living them all the time. They are
Mhm.
socializing with their friends there. They are creating things. They see the value in some of these virtual assets. That's already there. Um, so it's not so much convincing the older folks; it's understanding the younger generation is going to do it regardless of if the older contingent wants it or not. I think, I always talk about the post-smartphone future. That's kind of the
Hmm.
talk that I did at Consensus this year, thinking about what replaces the mobile phone. Yeah, we're still going to work with our mobile phones are still going to be around with us for a long time. Our computers will be too.
There'll be
But
some kind
eventually,
of
yeah, something's going to replace the typical computer. And it's probably going to be a spatial computer, whether it's glasses or something else, like what Humane and maybe OpenAI might be working on. It remains to be seen. But in
interesting.
order for us to interact with technology in a totally different way, that hardware has to evolve, the software has to evolve. Um, so yeah, like there's no one killer app. I wouldn't say that there's one killer app. I think it's gonna be a progression towards a post-smartphone future that is just a clear way for us to work, engage with technology in new ways.
Yeah, I mean, like my take when I talk about killer apps and I talk about
Mhm.
blockchain, I think it's really going to be healthcare. I think healthcare is the
Mhm.
one that really makes the most sense as far as um, the multiple data points of getting it out
Mhm.
there. But that's a conversation for another time.
Yeah.
What's the one brand, your dream brand, your dream? It could be an artist, an entertainer that you would love to work with
Oh my
that you
goodness,
haven't already.
so many. Yeah, I don't want to say one specific brand because then maybe the other brands will get upset.
There's a
So,
non-committal answer
I
out there
would
when
love to
listen to
one
it.
day. I would love
Disclaimer.
what.
I said disclaimer out there for any brands that Cathy works with. This is just a hypothetical.
Yeah, I don't know. I mean, I love Apple. I would say I love Apple. So I'm not going to say any fashion brand because I don't want people to get upset. I would say I love Apple. I think what their vision's really interesting. I do love Humane as well. So, yeah, let's see.
And
I don't know.
and from a business perspective, what is the biggest, I wouldn't say roadblock, but what I say is
Mhm.
the biggest hurdle that you're excited to take on in the next couple of years from a business perspective?
Multiple things. I would say merging physical with virtual, truly in a way that makes sense and that people understand. Also looking at the path to commerce in what I call virtual to physical and physical to virtual. I've been doing a lot of work for several years now in that path to commerce, and yeah, and I'm just like really excited about what comes next.
We all
So
are.
you'll be seeing me do a lot more work on spatial and AI. I have a book coming out, writing it with Irina Cronin on spatial computing and AI titled forthcoming. So yeah, I think you're going to see a lot from me.
I love it. And speaking of seeing a lot from you, in April when I was at the Spy Museum in DC gift shop, I saw Kathy's book sitting there. I'm like, look at this. And I showed it to my daughter. I'm like, this is Kathy. I'm going to meet her in May at VCon.
Yeah.
So, Kathy, let's bring it home here. And this is my masterclass. It's my masterclass for myself, my
Hmm.
masterclass for my audience. And over almost 300 episodes, I get to share my insights and conversations with experts like yourself here. So let's bring it home. Kathy, what is the single greatest piece of advice that you've ever received that you take action on every day? Could be a mantra, a motto,
There's
something
two.
that
I'll be very
please
quick. So one
two
of
is
them
great.
is one that I live by is live your life like a lighthouse. So everything that I do, I'm doing for the female, especially the female and diverse leaders that are coming behind me. So yeah, for your daughter and for all these people that are coming right behind me. So live your life like a lighthouse. And then if you can see it, you can be it. I heard that from Sandy Carter the first time around. I know it's not necessarily hers, but being able to see a lot of Latina women or a lot of women as leaders early on in my career just showed me like I can do it. I can be that. And I hope to be that as well. I'm not the typical face that you think of when you think of technology, but that's why it's important for us to see many diverse people as leaders.
Well, Kathy, you are leading the way. You're an inspiration to me. I love your
So,
story. I love your journey. I love your content. I engage with the community. Well, we check out the community
yeah.
on WhatsApp here. But last but not least, we talked about the lighthouse. You've been through it all in your life and your career.
Hmm.
And you have those moments when you do need to reach down deep inside and harness that inner tenacity to drive you forward. And in the same breath, when you want to show gratitude for this life, this family, this career that you've created, and being an inspiration to so many and being a source of truth and alpha. Cathy Hackl, what is your compass in life? What is your lighthouse? What is your North Star?
Everything I do for my children and for leaving hopefully a better world for them. So yeah.
Amen.
Mhm.
Amen. Kathy, this has been fantastic. I want to thank you so much for your time, your energy, and your wisdom. To learn more about Cathy Hackl, we're going to link it up in the comments, but follow her on all the social media channels at Cathy Hackl, CathyHackl. That's her handle. Her LinkedIn profile, you could find her there. Where else could they find you? Where could they connect? Where could they learn more?
Yeah, definitely online everywhere at Cathy Hackl, Instagram, LinkedIn. Definitely, lots of interesting thought leadership work coming from me. So, connect with me if you really want to stay in the know. I always joke that I live like 3 to 5 years into the future. So
Well, one last bonus question here. What's Kathy watching on TV these days that are exciting you?
I
What are you
have no
watching?
time.
Not on the planes, you're not watching anything?
I'm listening to a lot of podcasts. So, and I'm relaunching my own podcast.
There
So
you go.
I don't know. What am I watching? I will be very honest and cringe. This is a little cringe. But I definitely I guess Love is Blind is a guilty pleasure of sorts for a lot of people. So yeah, I'm trying to watch that right now.
Awesome. Well, Kathy, I know you got to go. I want to thank you so much for joining me. Everyone out there, thank you for listening. If this show meant something to you, leave a review. Rating it goes a long way. You and I are found. You know where to find out more. All of our social media channels at thepozcast.com. Remember, take care of each other. Look out for one another. Be good to yourself. Be better to others. And catch us next week for another great episode of the podcast. Take care, everybody.